Okay. Hi everyone. I am derping today. I life is a thing. Ah, ah, konnichiwa. Oi! Okay. So a lot of what I was working on last time. If you've been around, you saw like last time I kind of did Aki's eyes and kind of like ear rigging and stuff like that. So the thing that I want to do now is there's a development thing that I've been working on with Aki as well, where some of the issues were just imports, like inputs to her eyes, for example. I had eyeball XY as one parameter, and now they are different parameters, so I can move her eyes individually. This was relevant because when I was field testing 0.3, I noticed that I wasn't able to do like Aki going cross-eyed. So I figure if we do that, if we separate them into parameters, we can now import them separately. And now Aki too can go cross-eyed. Iris would be proud. So I just thought that was a nice little funny face to look at. So that said, I also made sure that each of her eye physics and things were on individually different setups. So like she can wink, for example. That's a thing that is possible now with some of the more recent edits. So just trying to figure out what exactly the best way to proceed is and kind of working that into what I can do. So that said, as you can see on the screen up here floating around now, there is a guide image. I did a lot of setup off stream just to make it a little bit easier to go today. So there are a couple of things that I need to do. One of them is move her head. So what I did was I've also, if you notice, my parameters look a lot nicer. I made them like different colors, like actually put everything in a folder. So today there are going to be main movement inputs, and these really are, and this is kind of something I didn't understand until today, that, or rather relatively recently instead, is that these are not things that you rig against. These are the default inputs that Live 2D, like when I put it to Live 2D Studio, like if I'm moving around in my motion capture, then my movements are going to be the things that are providing angle XYZ, body XYZ. And the outputs of that are going to be what I'm going to be rigging up to react to those inputs. Hello, Peru. How are you today? Good to see you. So, like, I've been playtesting, I guess you could say, Aki version 0.3 to just make sure that I picked out all of those issues, kind of understood what I needed to do. So now we have a face warp deformer. And then within this face deformer, we've got an angle XY one that I made a lot more specific. You can see that this is a standard deformer where we have the usual 5x5 grid of the gray circles. And then for the green circles, we've just got the basic like 2x2. Whereas if you look at this inner deformer, there's a lot more going on. Thank you, Speru. It's not my drawing. This is my like Yabi was the original artist, but I've painted so much of Aki at this point. I've like drawn actually probably about 20 to 30% of her at this point. So, at this point, you can see that I've like added multiple divisions here, as you can see. Hello, Link. Good to see you. How have you been? So, while I'm doing this, as I'm explaining, I'll just leave her with like a cross-eyed derpy expression just to have like fun with it. Derpy Aki. So, while I'm doing that, I just thought it would be fun for people to come in and just see her being derpy. So, as we were saying, the thing I've done here is then I went through, I put all of the elements of her face. Bleh! I accept the bonk. Thank yous for the bonk. Heart! Boink. Yay! Thank yous. So, as you can see, there's like more conversions in this one, since I'm going to be rigging her face up to look like this guide image that I've put on the screen. This is taken from someone else. All of the hearts. Thank yous for the love. I gratefully accept. So for this one, you can see like I've rigged up her head. All of her shadows from her hair are now individual layers. I went and rigged her, like separated her blush out. I did a lot of this off stream, and then I like gave it rigs. A couple of her facial features also needed to be separated because they're gonna get deformed a lot. I'm trying to be a little bit lazy with it for now, and then you can see that her hair shadow right here, I can actually move that around. It's actually its own layer as well, specifically so that like if she turns, I can do stuff with that. And then her head color is actually, if I solo it, you can see it's actually separate from the line that's around her face. That is now its own layer as well. That's like a little bit still on there, but her line is also its own rig. And in order to make that work nicely, I went to the head, I copied the entire deformation mesh from her head, went to her face line, deleted the mesh that was there, copy pasted that mesh, and then I edited both of them and glued them together. So now, like, for example, if you look at her chin when she talks, you can see, like, even though her, like, mouth is moving, like, her... Oh, it's super laggy. Please stop lagging. Like, you can see, like, as her mouth widens, her chin is moving and the line is moving with it. It's because they're deformed together. And they're glued together so that their deformations are linked. I'll give Aki a snug look while we continue talking. And originally I'd kept her eyes together because I wanted to make it easier to make these expressions. But we're at the point where we don't need them to be that way anymore. Well, and I should probably... There we go. So, with that done, now we need to actually figure out how to do the XY deformation. So I basically set everything up so that I would get to this point and be able to just launch into stream from here. So what I'm gonna do is, for the sake of making this easier to see, Since a lot of the stuff that I deform isn't gonna like look proper, I'm gonna close a lot of my folders. And then I'm actually gonna turn off a lot of her features. It's gonna look weird for a little bit while I get all of the things turned off, but bear with me for a bit. And then can turn her ears off for a sec. Turn her ornament off. And then I'll also turn her eyes off. So you can see now we've basically just got an empty face. I'll also turn her back hair off just for the sake of making it a little bit easier to see. So now we've got this vaguely up Aki-shaped egg. And let's turn off the shadow. Let's turn off her blush for now. Oh. And then I'll turn off her nose and her nose highlight as well. So I'm basically turning off everything except her head and face line right now because I want to get basically as clean a canvas as possible. So this is our Aki egg without all of the nice layers that make her ever so cute. So what we're gonna do now is go to the Ingles Physics folder, and I pre-made this where her Angle XY deformer has 3 keyframes, one for angle 0. Thank yous for the heart, Rich. Thank yous. It's been a while. It's good to see you again. So I'm gonna slide that over to 30%, and then what we want to do is I'm gonna drown in hearts. They're sitting on my head today. They're on my ears. But thank yous. So for now, we're gonna actually start working on that deformer here. And I'm gonna unhide the selection so you can actually see everything. We're gonna wanna make sure that before we start, as you can see, I changed the editing level. It's now 10 by 10. This might be a little bit too much. Generally, they recommend that you stick within 8 by 8 at the most because like your CPU load will increase the more that you run. I think it'll be fine though. I may be entirely wrong and I might have to like subdivide this, but the more conversion divisions you have, those are these little gray points. You have finer control over manipulating the actual thing. And then the Bezier division is these green lines. Since I kind of want to have a little bit more control, I don't really need that much width control, I need more height control since this is a oblong object. We've increased that from 2 by 2, which would look like this, to 2 by 5. Gives us more points to work with. You can also see how adding the extra gray points in the middle by doing 5 by 5 compared to 5 by 10 has increased the resolution as well. One other thing I recommend is you make sure that this is centered. These red boxes, if you click them and drag them normally, you'll like stretch the face out, as you can see, which isn't very nice. You have to hold control and it will let you compress the mesh and move it around without actually affecting the underlying art. So I balanced it out with the 2 by 2, made sure it was like centered. Like as you can see with this one, this is what I used to make sure it was centered. And then I added the extra divisions. That said, now, how do we actually get it to turn? Notice that I made sure that I added only Angle X physics here, and we're working on the 30 keyframe. For this, Angle X, the input that is going to be mapping to this, when it's -1, you're looking to the left, and when it's +1, one, you're looking to the right. From your, as a viewer's perspective, generally when you define everything with respect to your model, you define it with respect to the model's direction. So angle X is the model looking left, angle right is the model looking to the right. So we need to make sure that we start this angle X physics 30 by deforming it to the right. So what we want to do is kind of drag each of these points. You can see like her face is kind of like deforming in a weird way because of all of these different points. I also changed this Bezier edit type. It usually defaults to retain control structure. We want to make sure that we smooth it, set it to smooth all so that it keeps everything looking like a nice curve. You can kind of see how, like, as I pull these points out, we're starting to get that sense of perspective that, like, maybe she's looking a little bit to the right now, right? And I want to take this reference and kind of poke and pull at her until I get, like, a very noticeable... Let's see. Let's see. Also, the reason that you want to be careful about like angling it diagonally and things like that is because you have to remember that your head rotates on a pivot. It's rotating at the base of like the point where your neck attaches to your head. So from here, I kind of want to pull this point up and then push this point in a bit. You can see how I can pull these little like gray parts to like affect how that is. And like right now we want the top of her head to be like a little bit picked in, so I'm gonna push this in a little bit and just hello Phaseus. Just gonna kind of tweak each of these points. We want to make like the middle of her head look like comes in a little bit. That's a little bit too much. Good to see you both. Yeah. You might be able to find one with a link already made, HD link. Someone might have like pre-released it. But if you want to make like a custom one, it's so much effort. Let's see, I want to kind of angle that back a little bit. And then this part, we can pull this out a little bit to give her like a bigger sense of depth. Push this in a bit. Kind of don't need to like deform this as much now. Let's pull this corner in like that. You can kind of see how like I'm gradually adjusting points to get a feel for how I want her to be looking to the left, just as a head shape. But you can kind of see how like her outline is kind of staying the same the whole time. This is where we can actually go in, add the same keyframes to her baseline, and like I also like, oh wait, I don't want to do it to her faceline. I want to do it to her head. So let's undo that. The reason I want to do it to her head is because since I glued the two together, if I deform her like head, I'll deform her faceline. But in this case, I actually do want to deform just her faceline. And the reason for this is I want to, as you can kind of see, like as you get closer to the edge, the inner parts of it should be kind of like disappearing, like the lines should be less thin. But you can see like I don't want to like change the structure of her head too much. So you can kind of see how like just even if I haven't really done that much, it kind of thins the outline at the top. I'll undo all of that. They're still glued together, so. Just looking at my reference, I think I want to make sure that you can kind of see how like her cheek out here looks kind of weird. Let's go back to the deformation thing here. So you kind of just have to look at a reference, get a big feel for it, and just kind of like slowly work on figuring out what it should look like. And the idea is that like you should be able to see like the outside curving in. Let's push this a bit further. And then this should be like this. This is fine, but I also want to make sure I pull these points in a bit. I don't really like that. See, that looks a little bit better, right? Like, even without features, you can kind of see that this is clearly looking to the left. So this is what it looks like now, moving from left to right. Sorry, my laptop has been super laggy lately, and I'm not really sure why. Maybe I need to, like, clean it or something. I've been running out of disk space with all of the studying and everything. But let me do it very slowly. You can kind of see how like it now it looks like this is actually turning, right? So now the question is, am I happy with the way that it is, or do I want to make it more exaggerated? Also, you can see that like her neck hasn't gone up far enough. So like there's like a space under her head. Like I didn't extend the art mesh far enough up. So I actually have to go patch that. Thankfully, it's easy to patch. It's just that you need to be aware of what it requires. The alternative is you move the head down a little bit. But now the problem is like you can see how like it looks like she's turning. Thank you, Sir Headpat. Like now this looks like she's looking down and to the right instead of just looking naturally. So that's why I don't want to do that yet. And I instead just want to keep her head up here. So if you ever have issues like this, there are two ways that you can resolve it. One is you fix the art mesh, or you fish which is like go back to the art drawing board and like edit the art so that you have a longer neck. This is why in a lot of tutorials, if you look at like how they tell you like this is how you draw for Life 2D, they tell you to make your English. They tell you to make your neck a lot longer than you would think it would need to be. It's because of stuff like this, or like because I didn't make my neck super long, there's like a gap here. So the correct way to fix this is to go back and fix the art mesh. I'm still like trying to figure out how I want the perspective of her head to look though, so I'm gonna mess with that a little bit more before I worry about the art mesh. I kind of want to fold in the top left corner so that we get this like more notable, hey, like notice of her face is turning. So that said, I think, let's see. Let's close this. The weirdest thing is that like I'm not sure why my laptop has been slow recently, because I have an absolute ridiculous beast of a laptop. And yet it's lagging quite a bit. So that's been a little annoying lately. But, anyone have any additional, like, points of advice for this one? I think this looks mostly fine. And I think, like, as in terms of, like, just having a face turn, I think it's fine. I think I might need to do... Like, I think whether or not it looks good will kind of be determined by whether or not I, like, also animate her hair and her ears nicely as well. But for now, let's, like, push this in a little bit more. Kind of make sure that we get this, like, inner curve. There we go. That looks a little bit better. And then I can pull this one point out a little bit. Oh, no. Undo. I want to go grab that one, like, gray point and use it to just pull this out just a little bit. And then I can go back to her face line and pull this out just a little bit. And then hiding everything. So now the thing that I don't like about this is, like, you can see how, like, the top of her head looks kind of like it hasn't turned very much. So we need to do that as well. Let's form this in a little bit. It really is just trial and error, but, like, when you get it, like, you'll get it. I think, like, that line looks good. You can see how this line is kind of wibbly wobbly. So I can go back out to here. Let's play with the mesh just a little bit. I don't need to do too much. I also, if you look at her head, I made path deformers. I can, like, straighten it out by, like, pushing and pulling on the deformers too. There we go. I think this looks fine. That's a little bit of a problem. Okay. That's a little bit of a problem. I think what I want to do then is her head, her face line as an ID. What I'm gonna do is set this ID to face line. Nope, it's a laptop. And then what I can do here is say this is face line. But this is gonna be an inverted mask where it's only allowed to exist within, like... So instead of you're not allowed to exist within this bound, you're not allowed to exist outside of it. Usually that would fix this a little bit better, but okay. Compare the top of her head. Like, you see how I have, like, just a bare, like, turning animation, I think? Do you think this is good for now? Because if so, I can reflect this and then go fix the art mesh. So you can kind of see, like, how to go back and forth. I try to avoid doing this too much on stream nowadays because the rigging is more entertaining, but
Maybe, like, where the chin point is, it looks a little weird.
Okay. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, it looks a little sharp, like it's not twisted enough, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. I was so busy looking at the top, I didn't realize like I'd messed up the bottom there. Thank yous.
You're definitely off center.
Oh yeah. Let's tweak that. And then I also need to go back to this layer and path deform this edge. Better? Or still off center?
A lot better. Yeah, I like that.
Maybe a little bit more to the right. I think that looks better. Okay, cool. So, in that case, what I'm gonna do is save this. And then here's a cool thing that we can do to minimize a lot of our work. Normally, like, this only works if your mesh is symmetrical and you centered it before doing all of this. This is why I talked a lot about doing this before I actually did anything. What we're gonna try to do now is... Wait, did I mess up? I'm gonna right click this and then hit reflect. If I did this right... Wait. Oh wait, did I do a... Am I doing it wrong? Ugh. Oh, I did it wrong. I understand. Give me just a second, I need to check something. Good. I am Ah! Huh?
Sorry, was I loud?
I have my speakers a little bit too loud.
Sorry.
Uh-huh. No, not at all. Okay. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I appreciate the eternal head pat going on.
Guess what? No, it's no longer an eternal head pat.
Oh no, I ruined it.
It's okay. I'll leave it again. So what I'm trying to do here is... like, when you go in here, you're allowed to... Is it over here? There's a menu that I'm looking for that when you click on it, it like says like, reflect motion. Oh, is the like, oh, the layout's different, right? I think it's this one where I hit reflect. I think? No, this doesn't look right. Let me just double check my notes real quick. It was after this. Wait. After that up. Oh, I see. I'm dumb. I see where it is. Okay, it's not this. Okay, I see my notes. Okay, it's here in the burger menu. Reflect motion. This is what I was looking for. Okay. So if you do this, you can see that I'm like gonna do reflect horizontally. So see how like this point just lit up like super deep over here? So what this will do is apply the exact same deformations I just did, but in reverse on the other side of the perimeter. So now she's looking to the left. I didn't have to like re-rig everything. Now the question is, does this look fine in both directions? Yeah, super convenient. And this is why, like, earlier at the start, like I said, like, make sure that you center your mesh box and that it, like, your art, try to make it as symmetric as you can. Mine has very slight asymmetries, so it's like, bleh. But it's okay. So, I think this looks like it came out okay, right? Like, this looks like she's painting her head to look straight, and now she's painting her head to look to the right. Okay, so we're not done yet. That was just the X. So what I'm gonna do now is save this work, and then we are gonna brushy tail sweep over to CSPP, and I'll show you like how to fix art issues if you notice them like this, like I messed up. So here we go. Whoosh whoosh. And we're back here again. Aki looks squished. Squishy Aki. Unsquishy Aki. I want to like poke her cheeks. Oh, also everyone, we have a new emote today. It's Aki Heart. Art by Unfolded Burritos. Yes, I haven't actually loaded it yet. It takes a while to load, and you can't see the load pop up because it counts as a separate window. But there. Okay. So, what we're gonna do first is turn her face off. Wait. And then we're gonna go to her neck, and we're gonna edit this. Yes. Aki Heart is now T2, and I got more T1 slots, so I moved T time down. I was thinking once we get some, I'm like gonna look around and use the resources I got from streaming on Twitch to pay for emotes at my earliest. Like once I can get someone to help with that. So, you will have more emotes soon. And I just moved like Aki Heart up to tier 2. And then a couple other ones are coming. They're not ready yet, but they're coming. I think Aki Heart came out like amazingly well. I'm like really happy about it. Okay, so why is my laptop lagging so much these days? I really don't have that much open. Is it like over here? Ooh, an archery glove. Is it for like using archery with like the bow with like your offhand? Oh no, I just lost internet apparently.
You roboted.
Can everyone still hear me? Hello? You said I roboted?
Yeah.
Okay, am I still streaming on Twitch?
Yep. Looks
Okay.
like it.
Okay, apparently like my connection dropped and everything. Control Shift Escape. Let's go look.
In here. You're still here.
Okay, thank yous. I'm currently only using 21% of my CPU and 32% of my memory. And that's why I'm like, I don't know why it's acting like this. There's no reason for it to.
Well, you got out on Discord when you were talking about the archery level. I had to unmute stream to hear.
Oh, okay.
What was that again?
Well, I'm saying, is that for using like your offhand?
It's for either hand. I just don't like the string on my finger.
Oh, okay. For some reason, like my... Like, it's lagging so bad I can't even use my tablet. This is weird. What the heck is going on? Okay. Oh, no? Well, technically I don't need pressure sensitivity. I can just use my... So, I'm just gonna expand this upwards a bit. I was trying to do that as a guideline, just to like fill in and then like curve it up, but when all my inputs are being dropped, like you can see like my... That is the weirdest thing. Why is it being like this today? Okay, well, clearly I'm not going to be able to do that properly. So I'll just go back to rigging. We will fix the gap in the art afterward. So let's go ahead and update our guide image to show what our looking up should be. And then once we get all of like these basic things fixed, we can do the same thing with like, generally the reflecting motion thing doesn't work well for up and down. You'll need to rig those separately. But left and right are mirrored across the x-axis, so that's why reflecting motion there works. A lot of what you do for X though, like looking up, is very different from what you would do looking down. So just reversing it isn't necessarily like inefficient. Like it'll come out looking weird. I'll show you, but it's gonna look weird and then I'll get rid of it. Let's update our current reference. So now we have the looking upwards image. There we go. Wait. Okay. So now with this, we're going to want to pull all of these components up. I'm going to want to like pull this in a little bit to kind of give it like a more angled, like a sharper angle on the sides. So it looks like she's like looking up and like the back of her head is narrowing to a point. I can pull that up and then sharpen the point a little bit. Even more like an egg! Aki egg forever! Let's pull these corners in so that her cheeks don't look so prominent. There. Ah! Shimata! 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 Okay, so, I did a bad. I did a very bad. I have to redo this. Okay. Okay, so I have to redo some things. Okay. So, now, the reason why I did a bad is because I started doing this without having set up the new parameters. Since we're going to be doing this on X and Y, since we're now working on the Y, we need to make keyframes and set them to this parameter. And then again, we want to do 30 because we're going to be looking up now. So with that done, now fix the parameters. Always remember to check what parameter you're on before making any edits. It will make your life so much easier. Let's pull these in, push these in a lot at the top. Push this in some more as well. Pull this up a little bit. Push this in. Push this in. In here a little bit. Compress this corner. Compress this corner. Pull this in a little bit. Okay. Let's see. Now the question is, do I need to do anything for... Okay, let's go very slowly. So that's what my looking up looks like now, like just as a face. It's a little more eggy than like before. But I think like the way that it looks in that way, like the egg going up kind of like helps give it that impression of depth. Like you can, depth, I should say. Like you can kind of see the plane rotating upwards maybe. You think it looks good? Hey, thank yous. So I will show you why you don't do reflect vertically for this. So that's what it looks like looking down now. Which isn't terribly bad, but it also doesn't like have a lot of what I was hoping to see. Like for example, like when you're looking down, you kind of want your chin to like recede in a bit more than this. Like I think the top still looks good, but we probably want to do a little bit more fine tuning down here. And the reason for that is when you're looking down, like it's hard to see. It depends on the angle. I would think it would be harder to see your chin. Also, this is slightly off center again. So it's just a matter of making sure we squeeze everything in properly. And then if I'll update the image so that we have the downward looking image as well. Like a lot of this is just the turning itself. We won't know if it's good until I like fix everything too. So let's see. I'm gonna go ahead and update the looking down. The thing is, it's actually kind of hard to tell compared to like the normal. Like looking down, I think is kind of hard to represent. You have to really. Oh. Whoops. Hello, Riala. How are you today? Good to see you. Hopefully you had a good day. I am derping around with Aki's XY. Same. I'm not sure how I feel about this. So, an interesting thing we need to do now, though, is let's say that, let's unlink these. So this is Aki looking down. This is Aki looking straight up at you. Aki looking up. Like, ignore the net gap. I need to go back to the art mesh layer and fix that. Aki looking to the right. And then Aki looking to the left. Aside from the net gap, what do you think, Riala? And my laptop is struggling a lot. So, I don't know why. It started struggling like earlier this weekend. Nice, thank yous. So what we're going to do now to save ourselves some more work is link these two parameters together. But now the corners aren't done, right? Like, how are we going to like get those extra 4 points? Well, we can go into this menu here, and there's an option called Synthesize Corners. When we do this... Wait, why are you... No. Why is it being weird? That's odd. Oh, I didn't do it here. That's why. There we go. Much better. Oh, you can't see it for some reason. I hate it when it does this. Let me add another capture. Let's see. I don't really need the texture atlas. I can do this instead. So, coming up on stream shortly, you should be able to see another window that I just pulled up. So, this is the Synthesize Corners option, where what you can do is, if you have done 2 separate parameters like I did, where you have individually, you have keyframes rigged for each of those points, and you're going to link them together, you can ask Live2D to synthesize the corners by taking the extreme of each one and then like compromising and automatically generating the middle object. So before I do this, let's see, like if we look up and then if we look to the right, that works. But if we look to top right, it doesn't really do anything, right? Like it's the same as if I just looked to the right. It doesn't change with the X and Y parameters. Similarly, if I look up or down and like drag it, you can see like it's just rotating back to being like as if I were just looking straight left again. So what we're gonna do is right click here, synthesize corners. For some reason it doesn't like showing you this menu. So I'm gonna do this and then change it back. There we go. So you can see here I'm saying my first parameter is angle X physics, my second parameter is angle Y physics. I would like you to please synthesize all 4 corners from these mixed angles. So if we do that, it's usually going to look a little bit weird, but let's try now. See? Now it looks like looking up and right rather than just like here's looking straight right, now looking up and right, straight right, down and right. So it tries to do the best it can with like the frames that you've rigged. But generally when you look at this, especially if you're like comparing against a reference, you're generally going to want to fine tune the corners. This is really good for getting a starting position, or if you like don't really care too much about having super high grade, like looking around rigging and stuff like that. But I'm going to update the reference for looking up and to the right so you can kind of see what I mean about wanting to fine tune things. Alright, so update should be pulling up shortly. There we go. So you can see how when you're looking up and to the right, you kind of want to have a little bit more pronounced of an upward look, right? So in my opinion, like this is okay, but it's too close to looking straight right for me, and it doesn't have that like diagonal planar distortion that I think would be really nice for this. So what I'm going to do is go back to this deformer, and I'm actually going to manually tweak this particular frame to look a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is push that bottom right corner even further up, kind of like ease these corners up, pull this in a bit. This should be like really, I want to really sell that we're looking up and to the right. And like because I meshed the lines in, you can kind of see like the face line, since it's on its own layer, it's kind of, and I glued them together, it's automatically deforming the face line. So I want to maybe like pull this out just a little bit more. And then pull this chin up a little bit more. Okay, now if we make this go away, like compare looking right now to looking up and to the right now. I don't know if you agree with that being a little bit more noticeable. I might need to do a little bit more work on it. There's a specific type of deformation that I would really like to do here, and I don't remember how to do it. Agreed, the chin looks a little weird. This is one of those cases where we're gonna wanna do that a little bit inward like that. I think this should come inwards a little bit more. Like that, maybe. Like the chin looks a little weird. Now let me just pull this out. Actually, no. I can just push this one in a little bit. And tweak this a little bit. Push this inward. And what do you think about this? Also, the reason I don't want to like turn anything else on is because her other aspects, like eyes and stuff like this, Since we haven't rigged those yet, they all just kind of float in the ether. So like, this is where like her eyes were before. Where this would have been her eyes looking right, and then normal. Or like, you might wonder, like, they feel like they're low down. It's because her head is super egg shape. So if we do like that, you can kind of get the feel. I wonder if I like raised her head too high. But like, I feel like when I look up, like, I can rotate my head further back if I'm looking up left than if I'm looking just straight up. Ow, 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 ow. I hurt my neck doing that. I looked as hard as I could. Wait, thank you. That might be too high up too. What if I like move this down a little bit? Like, I'll rig her face and stuff to match this later too, but I don't want to move it up too much further. So I guess a good way to do this is let's turn off her other features to make it a little bit less obvious. So let's look straight up, right? Do you think the chin and looking straight up is fine? Okay, so now let's shift to look up to the left. What do you think should be happening to her chin? Do you think it should move over to the right a bit more? Is that what it is? Like it feels like it's both a little bit too far down and that it should be like a little bit further up. Like maybe like that? And if not, like maybe shift the actual line itself over a little bit. What about now? Let's get rid of the mesh. This is what it looks like without the mesh. Oh, it's okay. If I'm expecting it, I won't be scared. Thank you, though. But yeah, you can talk. I also had you at like 200%, so.
Why'd you have me at 200?
When we had like the last event, I turned you up. The last Discord event and stuff. And then I just never had my headset volume up. Anyway.
That looks better.
Okay. So let's see. Anyone else have any inputs before we go on to fixing the other corners? This one might... I think this one needs like a little bit more forehead protrusion. Hold on. I'll go back here while I'm switching the reference just to see if like anyone has any ideas about that. I think I need to fix the neck so we can have like a little bit of a better idea. But with my system lagging as much as it is right now, for some reason, like doing the art to fix it would be really, really hard. Because I can't use my tablet. Despite my mouse being perfectly fine otherwise. Okay.
I can see like on the right, maybe it needs a little more forehead protrusion, but the rest of it looks...
Oh, for like this one?
The one that's currently on screen?
Okay.
Is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah. These are kind of like the... I'm using this as a reference. Where like, if you want...
It's coming along really nice though. It's better than I could imagine.
Thank yous. I try.
Yeah, like right there, that's the problem.
Yeah. Like, does this need to come out a bit more or go inwards more?
I think come out.
Okay. Lee! Okay. So if we wanted to come out a bit more. Let's undo that. I think I want to actually edit the line itself in this case. Let's go in. Do you want like the outline to be thicker there? Is that what we need? Or is it something else?
I wouldn't say it's like a super bad problem. The head just maybe looked a little smaller than it should.
Mm-hmm. So then maybe thicker outline. That didn't really help too much. Let's also go here.
Also, not sure. Kind of getting the vibe that the chin might be a little off on that.
In what way? Is it like too high up? Or is it just like too sharp? This is
Could just be fine though. I'm not an expert on this. It doesn't look bad though.
so like, look at this one. This is like just looking straight to the left, no head correction. And then this is looking up. I'm gonna go slowly. It feels like maybe they should pull in just very slightly.
It does also look better when you watch it turn instead of just a static image.
Mm-hmm.
So it could just be the fact that it's not moving.
Let's deform this a little bit. I think I need to go more dramatic, like push this in. I don't want it to be like super sharp.
Aki is a round girl, not a sharp girl.
Exactly. There. That's less sharp, but I don't know if it's less sharp enough. I noted that there's a little skin point right here that's poking out, so I'm gonna quickly just...
I do like how it's not sharp.
push this in a little bit. This? Or like if the neck were fully extended, I think this would be a lot easier to see.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. I need to figure out like what I'm gonna do with her neck though. Cause like I thought her neck was already pretty long because of like the collar that she wears. So I was thinking I was gonna like just move her head down further.
Well, if you leave it as is and just add the missing neck, I feel like that looks really strange.
Yeah, that's what I'm
But
thinking too.
right there it looks good, but when she's looking to the side it looks strange.
Yeah. Like here. I think adding the missing neck here is correct. But I don't think any higher than this point would be good.
Yeah, like right there I don't agree with adding it.
I would agree with adding it here. But that's just from like I've seen, I can kind of envision what it would look like, and I've seen some other artists who have done it there. And I think it would be fine to add it here. Here, I think would be too much. So I'm probably going to have to come back in and re-rig this. For the downward one, Yeah, I think overall, this is okay as a starting point. I don't want to do too much more on this point because I need to fix her neck first. But I also need to debug what the heck is going on with like my super laggy setting.
I sent you a link to something to look at later that could be a suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, that's super cute. Oh. I'll look at that too. Thank yous. Like, I'm
The
pretty...
artist said she's gonna add the hairpin to them, by the way.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.